we're here today at the Perthshire Music School, and we're just going to give you one or two tips today about how to read music. Now, music notation, love it or hate it, it's basically here to stay. Some would argue it isn't, but I don't think that's actually quite right, because the language of music is worldwide. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and understand how music works. Now, at the music school, what I've found through trial and error is explaining music is really, really difficult. Now, I've went over what the notes are, the note rhythms and things like this, and tried to get student systems to memorise notes and all that kind of thing. But what I'm going to give you now is this tip here, and it just simply helps the student to understand what music notation is. When they understand it, they can follow along what all the theory is. Because sometimes what we do as teachers, we'll give you all the theory which seems straightforward to us, but then when you're learning it for the first time, it can be really, really difficult, like learning any language. So if you think of music like a musical language, though it's probably less complicated than a language, it still can be difficult to learn. So what I'm going to give you is two basic principles under this. Music has two really interesting things, two basic things if you like. And what you've got is pitch and duration. Now let me put these two things another way just to help you understand. Pitch in music just means high notes and low notes. Now all musical instruments, except percussion instruments, but even they've got different timbres, have got high notes and low notes. Right? So if you think of the bagpipes, it's got high notes and low notes. If you think of a trumpet, it's got high notes and low notes. Think of a guitar, etc., etc. They all work on the same basic principle, high notes and low notes. The other one is duration, or in other words, how long a note lasts. Right? Now, we also get in that equation as well with duration, how long a note lasts, the beat and the rhythm. Now, you're probably familiar with these words, beat and rhythm, because you listen to that every day, and you listen to high notes and low notes, and you listen to music. That's how it's all done. It sounds easy enough, doesn't it? Now, music notation, how it came about, was the need to communicate, just the same way as what we're doing now. We're communicating with each other. You've got to remember that music notation was written at a time when there was no recorded music, there was no videos, there was nothing like that. So the way musicians communicated with each other and with others was through the printed page, or the written page, not the printed, we've got the printed page now, but the written page, and it gives you the notes, and that's how they did it. So the only way, for example, that we know the works of, say for example, Beethoven and Mozart, is because they had written the music down. If they hadn't done that, then we would have no way of knowing what their compositions were. So music notation has been a really skillful way of learning to read music. So let's take the first principle, pitch, high notes and low notes. Now essentially what you've got here is a graph. Now if you had time to look at the history of music, you would see different versions of this. But in modern music, even with the computers, they can do this now. They can edit and do things. The technology has moved music notation even on to this day. So we've got there, if you look at the notes there, like for example in this section, you've got that note that's on the line, this one's in a space, a line, a space. So the notes are going up in steps. So I'm looking at it simply, this note here is higher than that one. So that note's lower. This one's lower, this one's higher. Right? So you get the idea. So it's high notes and low notes. Right? So that's looking at it this way. So in that way, this is a high note up here, and we've got a low note down there. Now, this is called a treble clef. You get other clefs, but we won't complicate it with that. The same principle works. What you've got is here's high notes and low notes. Now let's take the second principle, which is duration. In other words, Music's got movement, it's got rhythm, it's got a start and it's got a finish. Now that's going along in this direction here. Okay? Now what tells you what the movement is these two numbers here. And without going into the two numbers and defining that, just simply 4 over 4 is in 4/4 time, which means 4 beats in a measure or in a bar. So from here to here is a bar. See these lines there? So what that means, they've got 4 beats in every bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., etc. Now, the tempo of the music can change, and there's usually some kind of description to give the speed: slow, medium, fast, etc. Right? So that's the two elements of music. Now what I want to do is demonstrate this, because we've done this exercise at the music school. Well, we do it on a regular basis with students just to help them get the basics of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to play a click track for you on the keyboard. I'm going to let the click go. Now that click is giving you a beat. If you want to try this at home, all you want to do is just clap the beat like this with the click. I'll give you a count in like this. 1, 2, 3, go. Clap, 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 clap. Now what we've got now is beats in the bar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to count you in. I want you to clap along with me, and I'm going to show you something. You might be caught out with this, but don't worry, I'll explain it again. So watch this. Count in again. We're going to start here and we're going to finish there. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. 1. Okay, if we could put the click off now. Now, did you stop clapping here, and there, and in this bar? Most students do, because it's slightly confusing, isn't it? Why did I stop going 1, 2, 3, 4? Right. Well, that's because the shape of the notes indicate the duration of each note. In other words, how long each note is to be, or how short it's to be. There's lots of different types of note. If you look carefully on the board here, you can see we've got 3 types of note. Got that one, this one, and that one there. Right. Now these ones are called crotchets, or quarter notes, and they get 1 beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you notice I just played that on the beat like that. Okay. Now when I come here, these ones are called minims. I stop doing that. So if I do it again, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. These are called minims, or half notes, and they, get 2 beats. Right? So 2 beats. Here we've got a minim again, but this time you notice here, I'll just put it in a wee bit like this so you can see it. The camera. It's not a note, it's meant to be a dot. I've just made it a bit bigger so you can see it. The dot does something really special to every note, okay? It makes it half as long again. I'll repeat that. If you can try and remember that phrase when you're looking at a dot, it makes the note half as long again. So if a note's worth 2 beats, half as long again, you add on a 1. Simple arithmetic, isn't it? So this note equals 3 beats. That can change. Let's say, for example, when you go to half beats, the rhythms start to change a wee bit. It's difficult to count half beats, so you've got to work out different systems to get that. But essentially, that deals with the 2 very basic things of music notation, the 2 basic principles. Just finally then, we'd just like to deal with this question, right? For example, with guitarists have got tablature and chord boxes, and some would argue that you don't need music notation. Again, as I said at the beginning, I don't think that's actually quite right. So the question of whether to read or not to read, I would suggest is entirely up to you. Some feel that the improvised form of music is better because it's freer. There's all that type of thing as well. But what I would argue with that is that essentially all music, when it's being composed, is improvised. The skill with music, what it is just writing it down, and again, it's communicating with others. So what you're doing is you're getting that to pass that music on to somebody else. So, I mean, the interesting thing about it is as well, what we do is in exams with some of our guitar students, just as an example, there is no music notation. We do we do exams, we register guitar tutors, and there's no music notation whatsoever. They learn scales and chords, they learn to improvise. But what the student does have to do is every time they learn a scale, they've got to know what makes up a scale, what the notes are, how many sharps and flats are in the scale. They've got to know what a time signature is. So in other words, a lot of students not learning to read the music per se. What they are doing is they've got to learn the language of music. It's really important for the student to do that, because when they work with other musicians that might not be guitar players that use chord boxes and tablets and all these kind of things, they're able to communicate. So if somebody says, right guys, we're playing this song, but we're playing it in 3/4 time, and it's in the key of G, and we're doing this, that and the other. So the guitarist now then knows, what the other musicians are talking about. So we feel, and as an educational body feel as well, it's really important to learn some of the knowledge of music. If not being a great reader, at least you've got the basics of it. It's still really important to know. So there you are. So just in review finally, just remember the two basic principles. It does make it slightly easier. You've got here, going along with it, which we've just done, with just the rhythm or the beat. Now remember, the beat is the 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the duration, right, is or rhythm is the notes in the bar. And so when I played that, so the rhythm is 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And of course, rhythm can get much more complicated than that. Rhythms sometimes can be quite difficult to learn. So there you are. That's you've got a tip that we use at the music school that helps the students to understand how music works. So therefore, when they're learning to read music, they understand the basic principles and they progress much better when they understand what they're doing.